Welcome back to the Power Platform podcast. I mean, you would think after doing it all these amount of times, I would know the name of it.
But it is you were talking about, so not a surprise that you change your mind about the name.
No, the name's always been the name. The name comes like when Power Platform came out, I went and bought Power Platform podcast, like literally there and then. I also own domain names for Dataflex and stuff like that as well, because that's just how it is. The amount of products that Microsoft have bought or named that we're no longer able to use. So yeah, I've got a IONOS library of about 20 different domains that Microsoft weren't able to trademark.
So I think potentially we should also invite Mats Necker on this podcast to talk about domain hoarding, because I think it's the two of you in the community that hoards domains.
Is that still a thing? Is it domain parking? Is that what it was called?
I don't know if it's a thing, but it's you and Mats.
No, domain parking used to be a thing where people would go out and buy domains and then sell them for lots of money.
Yeah.
I just forget I've got them.
Until the bill comes.
Yeah, I don't even remember at that point. I just say, oh yeah, there's the bill. Because it costs I pay for the hosting, so it costs like £2 to register the domain, and I don't have to connect it to the hosting. Which does bring to the point that we have now got the website up and running again.
Yes, we do. And some social media channels, so LinkedIn and Blue Sky and potentially Facebook.
Just not Twitter, because we don't like Musk.
No. We're not cunts. Well, we are, but we're good cunts.
Yeah. What I did find out, though, when we were doing the website, or when I was doing the website, I figured out that we are on season 4, episode number 2 on this one.
Ooh.
So we actually have like proper
seasons and
season
control over things.
No, we just know what episode it is. We've got control over things, not a chance. So we're getting there. We're bringing it back in. We spoke last month with Will. We have checked in with him. He has not been fired from Microsoft yet.
Yep.
That
could still change.
Yeah. Based on some of the upcoming guests that we also have on, if they go back and listen to anything, he may get fired. We just need to see.
So who's the next guest we're getting fired?
So I don't think we get him fired. I think he probably would manage to do that himself if he really, really wanted to. But today we have Mike Hartley. Mike, how are we doing?
I am awesome, thank you. And yeah, me getting fired is it's a daily risk for me. I kind of find about half a dozen different ways by lunchtime.
Yep. I would almost get you fired. It's in the wash up in the office at the moment, but my favourite mug here is actually the Cap Gem collapsible coffee mug. I've been using that constantly.
There you go.
Yeah, I've been asked on a few calls if I have worked there. I'm like, no, I got that from Mike up in Aberdeen.
Yep. Yeah, you see, Capgemini swag gets everywhere. Swag full stop gets everywhere, let's be honest.
I have a cupboard full of swag.
Yeah.
And you still want more?
Yeah. Whenever I go to events, my wife gives me a list of things I'm not allowed to get or bring home. Mugs, water bottles, notebooks, pens. They're all on the list. Socks, she has a particular hatred for me bringing back more socks because she says I've got too many, but
can never have too many socks.
Exactly.
I like socks. I have a lot of socks. I had to upgrade my sock drawer because I had too many socks. I love them. So I'm one of the weird ones where So what do you like? What do you? I don't like much dressing up or makeup. Of like, I have earrings and I have socks.
Welcome to my world. But we are going to be making some more merch soon. You know what I'm like for merch. If I can't do event merch, I need some sort of merch, something interesting to do. We've made a death metal logo. So what's the word for fuck in Norwegian,
Farm.
right? So fawn, but it's in death metal and it's got like a ram's head.
Awesome.
Yes.
I like it.
So yes, it's just one of these things. You know what I'm like. If I can't be
Yeah.
doing event merch, I need to be making some sort of merch, some way, somehow. So yeah, that's the next thing.
So, if anyone out there has an event which has a huge budget and they have no idea how to spend all that budget, please contact Mark Christie because he's got ideas and he will create the merch for you.
Quite happily.
Yes, and I
Expensive.
just I just got another sponsor signed up for Scottish Summit yesterday. So there is a merch budget coming there.
Good man. Good man.
So Mike, everyone will probably know you by Heart of the Midlands, won't they?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's been me for 7, 8 years now. So,
Is that because you live there now? Did you grow up there? Where did that come from?
so, um, so I live in Rugby, which right in the middle of the Midlands, sort of edge of the East Midlands and the West Midlands, and obviously surname's Hartley, and a hart is a mature stag, which kind of rather applied to me, um, or as my sons would say, old. And it just kind of fit quite nicely. My surname's Hartley. I've always liked stags, so Hart, yeah, play on that one. And I'm in the Midlands, so it just worked out really. It was just one of those random things that came at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I did not know that a hart was a stag. That's a
Yeah,
new one for me.
it's an old English word, so
Mark isn't that good with English, so it's probably
well,
why.
no.
There is that. So, did you grow up there as a child? Did you move there?
So So I grew up. My dad was Royal Air Force, so we travelled around a fair bit. But both my mum and my dad, their families, kind of based around Nottingham. So again, East Midlands. So that was always sort of a base anchor location for us. When we travelled around, we'd always come back to Nottingham. And then as I kind of grew up, I moved around. I spent a bit of time over in Lincolnshire, spent quite a few years over there, living there. And it ended up that we'd got 3 kids, and Lincolnshire had absolutely nothing for them to do. They were absolutely bugger all for them. And last thing I wanted was a teenage daughter and 2 sons who were either close to teenager or teenager themselves, being bored out of their skulls and getting up to all sorts of crap. So we looked around and we ended up just kind of randomly looking and going, well, where's there good transport links? Where's there good cities nearby, easy access to stuff? And we ended up landing on Rugby and ended up moving here nearly 14 years ago, 13 years ago. Yeah, 13 years ago. Yeah, it became our home, and yeah, it's just one of those places. You've got Birmingham, Leicester, Milton Keynes, London, and Manchester easy to get to. So yeah, it's just nice for us.
I've genuinely just had to pull it up on the map because I don't have a clue. My English geography is you've got Newcastle at the top and London at the bottom, and if you go too far to the west, you're in Wales. That's pretty much my geography outside of Scotland. I mean, I can tell you most of Scotland, but
In
that's
all
my
fairness,
geography.
my English geography is about the same. So
Yeah.
we'll watch Richard Osman's House of Games, and he does this round on the show. Where is Kazakhstan? And he pulls a map up and asks questions to get people pinning. We're great at global geography, but when he pulls up the UK, me and my wife sit there and go, "Ain't got a clue." We're screwed at that point.
My son plays this game where it's a web based game, and they drop like a pin on Google Maps, and you've got to tell them where you are. So you've got to choose. I think it goes down to if you choose the town, you get 5 points. The region, you get 3 points, and the country, you get 1 point. But literally, you're given like a tiny little area on a map, and you have to look at it by what kind of trees are there, what do the roads look like, what do the street signs look like, and stuff like that. It's like amazing.
You
Oh,
would suck
cool.
at that game.
I'm going to find out the name of that game
Yes.
for
We're
Yeah,
you.
gonna play
and
it.
send it
definitely.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds
gonna
like
be
a way
our
to waste some time on boring Teams calls.
Yes, that's my thing. What can you do during that Teams call that should have been a co-pilot search of your directory? That is my new thing. Whereas rather than a Teams call that should have been an email, it's a Teams call that could have searched on Copilot. That's where I'm going with
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah.
So as an army brat or a
Raff brat, please
military
get the right
military
one.
brat,
Yeah, I'll let military.
military, okay. What was it? Just in the UK that you stayed, or just in England, or did you go to like the Akateries and things like that?
So I was born in Malta, which my parents spent about the first 18 months of my life in Malta. And bizarrely, I actually remember the place, which nobody can quite believe until I describe specific locations that I have never been to. And that was kind of before Google Earth and everything else. So, but no, we did a chunk of England, spent 8.5 years over two different tours in Germany. We did get exiled to Scotland for 18 months up at Kinloss. And that I will say, I, I love Scotland. I absolutely love the place, but Kinloss was living hell for 18 months because it was rough as anything. It was, um, I mean, I was a 13-year-old, and it was first time I'd been to a civilian school rather than one that was predominantly Air Force or military. And yeah, the first lesson you learn is you never went to school without carrying a very sharp knife with you all the time. And that was school life for 18 months.
It's not
We
good.
were very glad when we got posted back to Germany.
Yeah, your options are the north of Scotland. So my daughter actually lives probably about 20 miles from Kinloss.
All right.
So she works in a place called Banff.
Yes, I know Banff. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I always remember I was playing football as a kid, and we in the Scottish Cup. So like when you're younger, you play in your local area. I went up to a place called Banff, and I'm like, oh, we're going away up to Aberdeen. The match got moved from the local school to the council pitches because the school had been set on fire that week. That is how I remember Banff, and Banff will just always stay with me because that's what happened. But if we're taking a line like where is Banff in Scotland, it is the northeast of Scotland, further north than Aberdeen. So if you're flying back from Norway, you literally come in over Banff, and down past through Perth as you're hitting Edinburgh. So it's quite a good one. So we've had Malta, we've had Germany. You've been in the, I'm not even going to call Banff Scotland. You've been in the Moray area. Any other areas that you've hit?
So, as is kind of typical for Royal Air Force, it was a lot of Norfolk and a lot of Lincolnshire. They were kind of our main places. So, but I always think of Germany kind of as where I spent the most of my memorable time. Um, 3 years near the Dutch border, and then 5.5 years, bit further inland, and yeah.
So are you fluent in German then?
No. So the really fun thing with that is I can understand more than I can speak. And when we lived out there, it was that thing that you'd go out and you'd go into the local towns, and you'd go in and you'd try and speak German, and the shopkeepers would be, English, English. I practiced my English.
Fucking genuinely don't. It fucking riles me.
And then, so what you'd do is you'd try the reverse psychology, because you'd see the squaddies who'd come in. They'd be full of just sort of complete arrogance, and they'd expect everybody to bow beneath them. And the shopkeepers would not know a word of English at that point, of course. So you'd try the reverse psychology. You'd go in and you'd go, English, I don't speak German. And they'd go, blah, 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 blah. And then you'd go, ich sprechen ein bisschen Deutsch. And then, English, yeah, I practice English. You just like, you couldn't win. So you never actually had a chance to become conversationally fluent in German. And I did German at school, but the GCSE German that you taught, because I mean, there's so many different variants of German, and it depends whether you're north, south, east, west, wherever you are. The GCSE German is just so generic and ridiculously bland that you try using that with any native German, and they're just like, what are you talking about? You stand no chance with it. So it was a really, really weird experience. But I mean, to me, Germany's my second home country. It really is. I took my family out there, or my wife and two sons anyway. A few years ago, we went to Munich with them, and I was in tears when we landed in Germany, because it was the first time I'd been back to Germany for about 30 years, near enough. And we're walking around, and I'm getting a bit more confident speaking little bits of German to people, and I absolutely loved it because my family loved it. They fell in love with Germany. Both my boys have actually been back independently to different parts of Germany and travelled. My wife and I, we went back the following year to do a sort of 5-day break back at Munich, and she now wants to do things like the Rhine Valley and Berlin and everything else. And it's just like, yeah. I mean, in some ways, I felt more settled in Germany than I ever did in England.
I always remember standard grade German. Gehen Sie links zur Bibliothek. It was like, you take the second left to the library, take the first right to the Apotheke. That was standard grade German for me.
Yeah. my fondest memory of being out there was the time we were out there was when it was split east and west,
Mm.
and we actually lived out there when the Berlin Wall fell.
Oh.
And my biggest memory was every Christmas, Germany would only have white Christmas lights up. They always said they wouldn't put colour up until Germany was reunited. And I don't know if that was the whole of Germany or just around the areas we lived, but certainly it was. But both times we were out there, everywhere we lived, and they only put white Christmas lights up because they were a divided Germany. And that first Christmas after the wall fell, it was just a sea of colour everywhere, and it was remarkable. It was such a brilliant time, and to understand sort of that emotional feeling of it all. So yeah, it I mean, I was at college at the time that the wall fell, and I sat watching it on Channel 4 News late at night. There were a couple of other people who were Forces kids at the college. There was a couple of German people there, and we all sat there, all in tears, watching it. And when I got home to Germany, it was an amazing time to sort of experience and be part of.
Hmm. But did you never want to follow in your father's footstep?
I I ended up rebelling against the military life because I look back on it now and I regret nothing. I lived a very different life to a lot of people, but I got to experience so many things that other people will not understand or ever get to do. Um, but by the time I got to sort of 18, 19, I was going to university. I was making civilian friends for the first time. I was starting to put down some roots with people, and we were told we were going to be staying where we were at. And then
Mm.
my dad got deployed out to Belize for 6 months, and he was
Oh.
told, yeah, no, that's fine. When you come back, you'll be staying where you are. I'd made lots of friends. I'd got involved in local community stuff. And they ended up saying, no, 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 actually, you're moving to RAF Scampton in Lincolnshire. You're not staying where you are.
Mm.
And it's one of the very few times that my parents have heard me swearing. And I just screamed. I lost it because it was just tearing me away from roots that I'd put down for the first time in my life.
Mm.
Um, and it took a while to really then appreciate what I'd got in terms of the experiences I'd had, the life I'd had. I missed out on a lot of stuff. So I'll talk to people nowadays, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, do you remember this when you were a kid?" And I'm like, "Well, no, because my childhood was vastly different to that."
Mm.
But then I can turn around and say, yeah, but I actually got to sit in an F-14 Tomcat that was used in the filming of Top Gun, and I got to talk to two of the pilots that flew the planes in Top Gun. It's like, well, how many people can kind of say that kind of thing?
Yeah,
So
vastly different.
I never I considered it for a while when I was sort of a young kid, but then I kind of fell into IT at school, and the MOD weren't particularly up on their technology stuff, so there weren't really many roles for that kind of thing. And yeah, by the time I got to the age of getting a job, I needed a break from armed forces.
Mm. So falling into tech, that seems to be the way everyone gets into tech. How did you fall into that trap?
I think it's that probably that common old story. Socially awkward child, didn't make many friends, not particularly sporty, not very good in social situations. When I was at primary school, I remember we got a BBC B computer that sat in a little cupboard. It was literally a cupboard, and I ended up sitting on that thing every break time I could. My parents bought us a VIC-20 computer, which I still own,
Mm.
and it was meant to be a family computer, so me, my brother, and my parents to play on. It ended up being pretty much mine, and yeah, I just found my niche. The logic of it, the sort of do this, do that, do this, and then you get this out of it, clicked with my mindset, and the fact that I could be in a darkened room and not have to deal with people particularly. Yeah, that's really where it all came about.
So, did you go to college or uni to study computing, or was that?
Yeah, so I did go to college, which, because my parents, we were still in Germany at the time, so I ended up going to college and being in halls of residence for 2 years, and I did a good old BTEC in computer studies, which that was brilliant. Um, and then I went to university, started doing a degree, but I'm not academic. I am far from academic. And the degree didn't sit well with me, so I transferred to a HND in computer studies. And just before we were kind of finishing up, I got a job offer. And the job offer was offering to pay me more than graduates were earning at the time. And the job market wasn't great at the time either. And it was like, I can stay in uni and kind of maybe get a result out of it, or I can go and get a job that's paying me decent money and I've got a job. And so I did that. I took the experience over the education, and I've never regretted that choice for me.
And what was the job?
So it was um, it was writing software for SCADA systems, which are the systems that control factories and all factory machinery and robots and everything else. So my first job, I worked with everything from making Nescafe coffee, from the green coffee beans to it being jarred up, um, to making Nissan cars, chocolate bars, Walker's crisps, all that kind of stuff. And the I don't know if you'll remember it, Mark, but the club biscuit.
If you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join our club.
Yeah.
Yep.
Back in the 90s, they changed the shape of the club biscuit, and they rolled out a new shape for it. So instead of it being kind of the long flat, they made it more of a
Yeah.
square profile. And we wrote the software that handled all the recipe for that. It didn't last long because people were like, "This isn't a club. We want our club back." So we had to roll the software back. But yeah, they changed the design of them, and we were the ones that had to write the programming for it.
So I can only remember the club biscuits being slightly rectangular with the word club in the middle and then like bricks around the outside. Is that the traditional club?
That is the traditional, and that's what they are kind of nowadays. But that job also taught me the ultimate lesson of never make changes in prod. I learned.
You tell. This sounds like a good story.
So we had a client, and this client was a particularly odious man, and I mean that in every sense of the word. He had bad body odor. He was not a nice person to know. And I was fresh out of university. My boss and my colleagues, they were on site dealing with stuff, so I was the only one in the office. And this guy phones up, screaming as he always did down the phone. And I'm like, well, I need to get my boss to approve it. He's like, I don't want to wait for your fucking boss. Just make the change now. I haven't got time. Just make the change. Just get on and do it and get it done. I don't want to lose my job. I'm scared stiff for this guy. So I go in and I make a change. And a factory grinds to a halt at the cost of £4 million an hour.
Ooh.
I eventually find the fault was a missing semicolon on the end of a line of code, as is quite a common thing. My colleagues returned from site at the end of the day, and they're like, what's been going on? Because we've had people screaming at us. And I told them, they laughed, they found it funny. And I mean, this guy ended up getting a bollocking from my boss because he should never have put me in that position and what have you. So they had my back, but I never lived that one down. But it taught me a very, very, very valuable lesson at the cost of multiple of millions of pounds. Not to me, though, thankfully.
Has it stopped you doing changes in prod ever? I knew that one.
But I am a bit more cautious making changes in prod now.
You evaluate the whole scenario first.
Yes, and I certainly do not make any juniors or graduates or anything make any changes in prod. In fact, if they go anywhere near prod, they have to have me watching them or somebody else who's senior watching them because they ain't touching it.
So I do have a question that's more just a morbid curiosity one. So you've gone from your BBC Micros. Give me a rundown of your computers from the first one you got until now. What have you had?
So there was the Commodore VIC-20, which I hacked to pieces, and that was good fun. There was the BBC B. There was the BBC 128 as well. No, I didn't actually necessarily own all of these, but I did have unfettered access to all of them at points. Commodore 64, ZX Spectrum, Amstrad CPC 464, although it was actually the German version, so it was called a Schneider 464.
Did it have a German keyboard, or were they all English keyboards at that point?
It had a German keyboard, but I mapped the keys to be English, which confused my family no end. Didn't confuse me. We then had odd little bits and pieces, but my first PC was an Amstrad PC 1512. And then from that point on, it was all custom build. So I went through the whole lot, the 286, the 386, the 486, and including the 486 DX266 with the turbo button. It had to have the turbo button. You weren't cool unless you had that. And then just moving all the way through PCs.
You've had some, so you've kind of grown up with computers.
Yeah. I always think I've lived at one of the best times to be alive in terms of just seeing what the change has been. I mean, going from a situation where a computer was this weird thing that you might have one of in the whole school, if that, to all of a sudden we're globally connected. I'm talking to you guys, and I mean, I think of just I've got friends all over the world who I talk to, and that would just never have been even remotely imaginable when I first sat in front of that computer and just looked at the green screen blinking away at me. It's just crazy, but seeing that pace of change and seeing all the innovation and the growth and the way it's advanced, I mean, we've been living every sci-fi dream you can imagine, really.
Yeah.
So, two questions. One thing. I sold my Amiga A600
Oh
last
yeah,
week. So
nice,
when we go back to Scotland, I have to post that away. But I've had an A600 sitting there
nice one.
that's gone. But my question. So you mentioned sci-fi. I know a lot of the. As we're looking at you right now, obviously this is an audio podcast, but visually, I'm going to explain that I'm looking at Mike. Mike is sitting in his chair, wearing his glasses, surrounded by pop vinyls and Star Wars
Yep, Star Wars
items.
Lego.
So, are you by looking at this, you're into sci-fi? Is it movies that got you into that, or did the tech lead you to the movies because you could relate to the movies because of the tech?
I think it was a combination. So being a socially awkward kid, I read books. I didn't go out to play. I sat and read books, and I'm a fast reader, a very fast reader. And so I read fantasy books. I read sci-fi books, so books like Isaac Asimov, sort of the laws of robotics and everything else. At the same time, we had things like Star Wars, and I will never forget that opening scene. Although I didn't experience it at cinema for a long, long time, I first saw it on TV. That opening scene of the Star Destroyer just seemingly coming out from over your head and into the shot. As a kid, that just wowed me immensely. I loved it, and um, in Germany we only had one English TV channel, but we could pick up Dutch TV, and they would show a lot of American TV shows with Dutch subtitles, so it'd still be English broadcast.
Ah.
And so I got to see a lot of things. I saw Knight Rider on Dutch TV. On the British TV channels, we got a lot of the sort of classic 1960s sci-fi, so Land of the Giants, UFO. We got things like Star Trek as well, and all that lot. So it was just an amazing, fantastical world that I was just like, yeah, I love this, and with a growing love of technology at the same time, it was like it all married up. I was your very stereo, and probably still am your very stereotypical nerd and geek in that respect. I've not grown up. I never will.
See, I was the opposite. I had to watch German channels at 12 o'clock at night in the UK for other purposes.
Yeah. I can imagine. I won't say I know exactly what was on those
Yeah,
channels
oh,
at
you
that
were
time, but
about to say
yeah,
exactly that.
I understand.
So,
I thought every channel in Germany was dubbed at like most of the times, because it's always when you vacation anywhere, and I mean if it's France or Spain or Germany, it's all the channels are dubbed.
Yeah, yeah. It was just the Dutch TV channels that seemed to show the programs subtitled rather than dubbed.
Huh.
The German TV was, yeah, they were
Yeah.
most definitely dubbed.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not the same watching Star Wars dubbed to German, I could imagine.
no, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah. Weird. So how do you fall into then the world of dynamics and CRM? Like how do you go from that first job to
So I mean, I've my whole IT career has been spent falling from job to job. I the my first job ended because we had a massive economic downturn at the late 90s, and the company went bust.
Mm.
So I ended up moving jobs. I then ended up working at a school, doing their network management and IT management, and that involved running help desk, building networks, building all the Windows infrastructure, building PCs. I'd never done anything like that in my life. Managing everything from Exchange Server to SharePoint when it kind of launched, and all this, and I really grew my a lot of my teeth there, and then jumped about different jobs, and I ended up working at a little startup that was doing Fitbit before Fitbit was a thing. And I joined, and they brought me in to basically manage their IT equipment. There was only about 8 people, 8 of us, maybe 10 of us, and they brought me in to look after their IT. And they went, "Oh, yeah, we've got this system that we want to go live with. It's a CRM, and we want to integrate it with all of our health logging stuff and everything else." I'm like, okay, right. Never heard of it. I didn't know what a CRM was. Didn't know anything. They went, can you make it work? Can you get it all working? So that was CRM3,
Mm.
Dynamics CRM3, and we had a hosted server, so it was kind of cloud before cloud, and I did it. I bought a book. I read lots of blogs, as you do,
Yep.
and I got this CRM3 system working and integrated. And the day before we were due to go live, our service provider turned around and went, "Yeah, we've got a service announcement for you tonight. Your servers are going to be migrated to Dynamics CRM4." We were going live the following day. I had never
Oh.
seen CRM4. I'd
Oh.
never touched it, and of course, there was quite a difference between version 3 and version 4.
Mm.
I managed to do it in 24 hours. I managed to get it all working. We went live with no issues, and I loved it. I really loved it. But then the startup folded. I ended up
Yeah.
going to work at a couple of other places, one of which exposed me to Dynamics Axapta, uh,
Oh.
Dynamics AX,
Mm.
which I don't do finance or ERP systems. My brain doesn't work that way. And that place went bust. Story of my life. I went working at a mental health care charity that runs some hospitals as their CRM system administrator on Dynamics 2011,
Mm.
which I loved. I mean, who didn't love CRM 2011?
Mhm.
And I stayed there until I migrated them to Dynamics 365 in the cloud.
Wow.
And then that was kind of, I'd fallen into the whole community thing by that point, and that was when my wife turned around to me and said, "You need to go out there and do jobs that you want to do instead of picking jobs that you think are safe and stable for the family. Go out and have some fun. Do the stuff you want to do." Um, so I kind of escaped end user world at that point, and yeah, fell into the whole world of consulting and Power Platform and Dynamics and Biz Apps, and
That's a good wife.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
how you said you were already starting to get involved in community as an end user. How did that journey start?
So when I say I was the CRM system administrator, I was all there was. I was the only person who knew Dynamics CRM, and despite me asking and pleading and making cases for them to migrate from CRM 2011 to 2013, then to 15, they refused. And then it got to the point where all of our on-premise servers were about to go end of life. Windows Server, the version we were on, was being sunsetted. SQL Server was being sunsetted, and they panicked because we stored health information and we needed to be compliant, and we weren't going to be. So I said, well, let's move to Dynamics 365 in the cloud. It's where it's all at now. Let's go for it. So I ended up being business analyst. I ended up being the solution architect, the developer, the data migration, the trainer, the whole work for this whole project to migrate. We also implemented the first version of Dynamics 365 marketing as well,
Oh shit.
which was kind of quite brave. And I knew I couldn't do that on my own. It was too big by that point, and I convinced them to let me go to a Dynamics user group in London. And yeah, that was kind of, I walked in expecting it all to be business and formal people and quite a serious thing, and instead we had Sarah Critchley standing up there swearing away, throwing in random mentions of badgers, and I sat there going, okay, I can either sit here and just let this carry on, or I can just go with the flow and enjoy myself. And I went with the latter, and it was just like, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to enjoy this because this is fun, this is enjoyable. And it was one of those moments where you like, I found my tribe. It I met a whole bunch of people then, and yeah, that really was the key moment that just sort of set me on this crazy path that I've been on the last however many years.
But it's a bit different going to a community event to actually speaking or organising one. Did you ever think you'd get to the point where you had the confidence in yourself to be able to get up in front of people and speak about the product?
No. And I'll be honest, I still don't have the confidence to do it. I do it, but I don't have the confidence doing it. It's one of those things that you never think that you've got anything worth saying to all of these other people who are around you, who always seem to know more than you. And I got talking to people, and they were like, yeah, no, you should talk about some of this stuff. You really should. And I'm like, well, what am I going to say that you don't already know? And somebody said to me, look, there's always one person in the room who will not know what you know at the very least, and they will need to know the information that you're giving them. That is why you do the speaking. And I'm like, okay. But I'm not confident. I can't stand him. And they're like, look, none of us are confident. We all have imposter syndrome. We all feel the same way, but we still do it. And it's like, okay. And I mean, the first talk I gave was at a user group in Nottingham. It was a real stormy night. We weren't meant to be traveling. Roads were closed. People didn't turn up, and there was about maybe 10 people in the room. And my talk was dreadful. I sweated like a pig because I was so nervous. My demo didn't work, of course, because we know what the demo gods are like. And I got my slides all muddled up. My timing was completely out. I spoke for way longer than I should, and I still had to cut half my slides. And I thought, okay, that was a disaster. And then foolishly, I was submitted to speak at Scottish Summit and got accepted. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? And that was where I met both of you, and Malin, where you spoke up about your love of doing documentation.
Mhm.
Yeah, still to this day can't quite believe that, but hey, there have to be some people. And so yeah, that's really where it came, and I fell in love with Scottish Summit as an event. I loved and still do love the kind of atmosphere and feel we have at that event, because it's so much more about the people than it is about business or corporate kind of stuff. It's the most community focused event, and yeah, over the years I've been able to get involved in helping with that event and getting on board with it, and now to the point where I'm sort of helping organize the event, which I never thought in my life would have happened. But it's kind of like, well, it's now my time to give back to an event that gave so much to me.
But I do think already you do give a lot back to the community. Do you find that talking about things that you're passionate makes you less nervous because it's something that you're enthusiastic? Like I know when I go to an event and I'm speaking about field service, I feel totally different speaking about field service than I do about anything else because I feel I'm passionate about it. I know it inside out. I've got more confidence talking about it. Do you feel like I know you champion accessibility and you talk about that a lot? Is that something that because you're more passionate about it that you feel more empowered to talk?
Yeah. So I mean, I started out. I've always been very open about my own mental health struggles and issues, and um, in the sort of pre-COVID, we had Microsoft Ignite, the tour in London, and I went down there, and I I put out a simple tweet because there was somebody speaking who I really wanted to meet, and I chickened out at the end. My social anxiety got to me, my nerves got to me, and I just put a simple tweet out saying basically that. And I had a bunch of people come up to me and find me to say thank you for saying that, and I'm like, what? I didn't. And they went, no, that was really brave. And I'm like, well, it shouldn't be brave.
Mm.
It shouldn't be brave to talk about mental health. So I started out talking about mental health, and I am always nervous in the first 5 minutes when I start a talk. Um, but I find that, yeah, the mental health, I'd be really nervous, and then I'd get really confident because I knew how important it was for people to hear what I was saying. Um, and then accessibility um, sprung out of that. I mean, mental health is a disability. You've got neurodiversities as well as physical disabilities, um, and I'd started to kind of pay a lot more interest into the whole wider area of accessibility. And then, Mark, you asked me if I'd look after accessibility for Scottish Summit, and I was like, yeah, I'll take it on. And I never do things by halves. When I commit to something, I go all in. And it's become such a massive part of who I am now and what I talk about. And when I talk about it, because I know that people need to hear it, and people need to be paying attention to it and for it to sink in. I do find I am more confident. I believe so strongly in what I'm saying that my nerves disappear a bit. Um,
And it is important work. More people should be more open about struggles and everything. So I think it's super important what you do and what you talk about. Just being open, just the fact that, I mean, I'm also nervous when I talk. I talk a lot, but for presentations and everything, I'm still super nervous, and it doesn't matter if it's something I've done 1,000 times before. But I think as you get more familiar with talking, as you do more presentations, you kind of trust yourself more. So it's more of, you will never go back to that first one when the demo doesn't work and you completely panic and maybe freeze and just like, it doesn't work, I suck, it's all my fault, I'm horrible at this, I'm never going to do this again. Whilst now it's probably, for me at least, it's more the demo didn't work, shit happens, that's just how it is. It's a demo. It's, I would be surprised and scared if it worked the first time. So when it doesn't work, let's move on to the next thing. So it's more getting that experience, getting more familiar with what you do, and failing successfully as well.
Yeah.
um it's yeah, no, it's important, and but it must also be hard to talk about, like, to do presentations about anything that has to do with mental health and sharing struggles and everything. It must be harder than as it just talk about tech.
Yeah. I mean, we joked at the beginning about causing me to get fired and stuff like that. And I'll be honest, when I started talking about the mental health, I really worried that it was going to have an impact on my employability. I worried that people would go, oh, yeah, he's talking about a really important topic, but he's also said he suffers social anxiety. He also says he lives with depression and can get crippling fear, so we don't want to employ him.
Mm,
We like what he talks about, but we don't want to employ him.
yeah.
And thankfully, I've not had that. I've actually found the opposite, but I think that's just because there's been a whole change. And it's the same with the whole area of accessibility. I look back sort of 6 years, and there were a handful of people who talked about accessibility, and it was never something that was massively considered by people, and it still isn't. There's still a hell of a long way to go. It's still a battle and a struggle, but there are more and more people, and you also didn't get people being open about their own neurodiversity. You didn't find people saying, yeah, I'm autistic, I've got ADHD, I struggle with this, that, and the other. And yet now people are so much more willing to be really open about what they're living with and what they're dealing with. And it makes what I talk about even more important, because I can put more faces to the people who need accessibility in their daily life. I can speak at a conference or on a podcast or or on a user group, and when I'm talking about, well, we need to be implementing this, I can see in my mind specific people who need that very accommodation in their daily lives, and it makes the world a difference. It really does.
And talking about it. You started your own podcast now as well.
Yeah, so I've had I had an idea 4.5 years ago, and it sat there stewing away. And over Christmas, I decided enough was enough. I've held the domain name for long enough. I'm going to actually use it. And it's called 365 Ally, A11Y, which is accessibility. And the idea is it's a new community with several aims. So one of the aims is to act as a signpost to all of the amazing accessibility content that's out there, but is difficult to find because it's not mainstream. So I'm kind of taking inspiration from the 365 community website that you and Ian set up, Mark, in bringing in syndicated content. We don't copy content for other people. We just host a little bit of information to then link out to all of the other content. So people have got a central place they can come to say, okay, I need to know how to do tab stops in Canvas apps, in Power Apps. Right, let's go there. Let's do a search. Oh yeah, I found a blog post. I'll go to their website, and there we go. And that's one part of it. The other part of it is the community side. I'm setting up a Discord server for people to be able to talk, for content creators who do accessibility to speak to each other, because it can be lonely. You speak at events and you might have 5 people sat in your talk, while next door it's standing room only, and you're kind of like, why am I doing this? But it's still important. But your motivation can be really knocked, and you can think, well, I can't keep doing this. So it's a place to build up, but also a place where anybody can join, and it's a safe space to ask the questions that you might be frightened of asking without fear of being cancelled or doxed or anything else. A safe space to ask respectfully and in the right way the awkward questions and get educated. And then, yeah, there's the podcast as well, which this is just the initial podcast. We've got kind of several ideas for podcasts, where I've just reached out to the wider community and said, book time with me. Let's talk about accessibility, what it means to you, what it means to you in your daily life. Obviously, in the current world climate, I have to ask about AI as well. And how does AI help? How, does it hinder? What are your hopes? And I've recorded some of them so far. I'm kind of waiting until I've built a little bit of a library before I launch it, because I want to make sure I've got a decent backlog and can keep a momentum going. And my diary in evenings is full of people who've booked, and people I never even thought of from an accessibility standpoint have booked time with me. And what I've heard from people so far has been amazing. They've been really, really open, talking about accessibility from their view, and I'm learning a lot from it. So it should be launching in the next couple of weeks. I'm just waiting to get a couple more recorded, and then I'll be launching that, and then there'll be an episode a week coming out on all the standard platforms, including TikTok, which is going to be an interesting one because I've never done TikTok before.
Oh, cool. That's quite the initiative.
Yeah. I mean, the whole TikTok thing's come about because of Nick Dolman and Ulrika's podcast, because they put snips out there, and I was kind of like, I like this. And there's a lot of accessibility content on things like TikTok and YouTube Shorts, because you get a lot of people with ADHD and they can only consume short format.
Hmm.
That's kind of where I was going. Is that because those platforms are actually more accessible for people? And as you say, it is the quick shorts. It's the 5-10 second sound bites. And again, going back to your point where you said if one person learns one thing from that one session you've done, if somebody learns something from a 20-second clip, doesn't matter if they've not listened to the podcast, doesn't matter if they've not visited the website. If they've learned something from that 20-second clip, that is gold as it is.
Oh yeah, 100%. That is exactly why I'm sort of making sure that the podcast will be published to those places, because it's just that one little snippet of information that can give people an answer. It can give people a bit of encouragement. It can let people know they're not alone, or it can just help them find some new way of doing something. And I mean, yeah, you can end up doom scrolling for hours on TikTok, and I admit I've had to put a time limit app on my phone to stop me from doom scrolling, because I get sucked in. And yeah, there's tons of mindless junk out there that's still entertaining, but there is a lot of stuff that can really help people and really just sort of add to their daily lives and to the quality of their life by learning something new.
So, what is the name of the podcast?
It is very simple. It's 365 Ally, the podcast.
Yep, I think that is very simple. And the website again for everyone?
It is 365-a11y.com, 365ally.com. The website is currently being built, but I have actually been vibe coding all the WordPress plugins, because I'm a cheapskate, and I don't want to pay people to have a syndicated plugin. So I vibe coded one for RSS feeds, one for YouTube, one for podcasts. That was my Christmas. That stunned and surprised me, but it's saving me a ton of money.
You've seen in the background how the 365 one works, doesn't it? Have you just done something very similar?
Yeah, very very similar. It's just I'll be honest, I couldn't justify the cost of paying a subscription fee for it. So a friend of mine said, vibe code it. And so I tried vibe coding a simple plugin to display a random quote from a database of quotes in WordPress, and it worked the first time. And I'm absolutely stunned. And even better, on all my AI prompts, when I'm doing any vibe coding or anything else, I always put in the line, ensure it is fully compliant with WCAG 2.2 and ARIAS accessibility standards, which is what we should all be doing. It's what we should all be building to. And what really surprised me, I've used Claude, I've used Anti-Gravity, I've used GitHub Copilot, I've used Microsoft Copilot, and they all pay attention when you say include accessibility, and they do a really good job of it for the most part. So I vibe coded that quote plugin, it worked, and then I tried the RSS one. I thought there's no way it's going to do this, and it did it on the first attempt. I was just like, this is crazy. I've even implemented a security model in it, and it does it accessibly. It's built the widgets for me. And I'm just like, you know what? This is really quite something. And the fact that it's got that accessibility built into it, it's just amazing. It's really quite crazy, because the website won't be 100% accessible, because nothing can be 100% accessible. It's not. It's very much one size fits one, and you can't get perfect. But I'm determined to make it as accessible as possible. And that is a big part of it.
And I think that's what people forget sometimes when you're looking at accessibility. You can, I mean, yes, 100% is utopia, but just by trying, you're helping somebody. You're not going to hit everything. You're not going to get them all, but just by trying,
Yeah.
whether it's screen readers, whether it's dark and light features, whether it's readers, etc. It's whatever you can do to help.
And
Yeah.
anything is better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the easiest starting points for people, two very simple starting points. One is always put alt text on images. Always put alt text on images, on PowerPoint decks, on Word documents, emails, social media websites. Always put alt text, because screen readers read the alt text. They can't read an image. And then the other one is look at color contrast. Look at the color contrast ratios. There are plenty of resources out there and guidance on how to get that color contrast balance right. It doesn't take 2 minutes to do, and it suddenly boosts your accessibility in a huge way. It really makes the world a difference.
Yeah. And it's just like you do, put it into your prompt. Like it's not a big thing to do to make sure that more people can read your blogs or look at your web pages or read your emails, or and Microsoft has a lot of tools as well that can help, do they not?
Yeah, they do. I mean, Office or Microsoft 365 has accessibility checker built in. On Outlook, I have my personal settings set so that when people email me, they get a banner that says Mike Hartley prefers accessible content, which just gives them a bit of a nudge. I don't need to use a screen reader, but I want people to get in the habit of putting alt text, considering color. So I have that set. And yeah, I tell everybody I can just add the simple line in to all your prompts about making it accessible. It only takes 2 seconds to write that in, and it will go a heck of a lot further to building something accessible than if you were to leave it and then revisit it if you have time at the end of the project, which we know never happens.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, it never does.
No, because who's got time for that? And it's also the like, try a screen reader.
Mm. Oh,
Like,
it's an
just
interesting
try it out.
experience.
Just to experience it, because it's a ploy. It's interesting.
But that accessibility is one of these things that nobody does as part of UAT. Like that should be part of your UAT process.
100%. Yeah.
It's just it's one of these ones. But we've obviously talked about it, and what we don't want to do is take away from people going to your podcast now to find out even more. So we've teased it. And we've now given everyone. So once again, I know we've said it about 3 times. What name of the podcast is?
365 Ally, the podcast.
And the website?
365-A11y.com.
There we go. So that is where you can get content, you can get tips, tricks, but more importantly, you can connect with other people within the community that are producing content that might want a little bit of help, that might want a nudge into the community. Mike is doing amazing things there. He does not get or take the credit that he should for this. So, Mike, we thank you very much for all you are doing.
Thank you.
And with that, we can wrap up today's podcast. So, I will let Malin do a wee outro.
Oh, thank you for that
Shot for
surprise.
me.
short intro and you give it to me. Well, that was today's podcast. Thank you. No, it's a good one. It was very good to get to know you and let the community and people get to know you and your background even more. And as Mark said, the very, very important work you do to get people more open, both to mental health, but also to anything and everything accessibility. It is super important, and we should have more people like you. So thank you for joining us, Mike.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and see you all next time. Goodbye.